so much for doing this with us. We're just starting out, and this means a lot that you took time to talk to us about the book. The book, Discovering Something Greater, is amazing. It's like always on my bedside table, and it's all written. And today I couldn't find it. I searched it for like 30 minutes. Well, a little bit less than 30 minutes. And it was on my desk because I've been looking at it yesterday to make notes. So it wasn't in its place.
It moved its home.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So we have everybody here except for Casie. So we have Kimberly, and we have Mary, and we have Kristin. And each one of you wrote a part of the book, and then you wrote the last bit as well. Do you want to maybe start and introduce yourselves a little bit and how you came together to write this book?
Sure. Yeah. Kristin, do you want to go first since you're the first person in the book?
Yeah, Kristin.
Sure. Well, I know Mary. I've known her for a long time. We actually worked. I have my current 9-to-5 job now. She was working in the same organization, and when we had a very similar passion, which was gymnastics. We'd both been coaching. We were gymnasts and coaching for a long time. So when Mary said she wanted to write this book, she asked me if I wanted to write it with her, since I had done some of her training programs. And then she asked me if I wanted to bring someone along, if I knew someone I wanted to bring along, and I immediately thought of Kimberly. She was my very first ask. And she graciously said yes and didn't laugh in my face, so I was rather grateful about that. And then Mary didn't laugh in my face when she asked me, so no, these are probably two of my most favorite women in all of the lands. They're great, they're intelligent, they have great, incredible hearts. And so coming together to write this book, I mean, writing is always a challenge when you're trying to, like what Kimberly talks about, find your voice. I knew exactly, I have a passion for writing about vision, working with organizations to find their vision, helping women and people find their purpose and their vision. But writing about that is easy. When you feel like we talked about, Sarah, when something's really exciting, it's really easy to keep going. But working with these ladies, Casie included, to write a book, a collaborative book, which I've never done before. And I have children's books that I've published. I've never published a book for adults before. So writing for that kind of audience, people that can actually read and not be read to. I joke around and say I wrote for actual readers, not just listeners. It was a life-changing experience writing this book with them. So I'm grateful to this day that we got to have that opportunity. So Mary?
Yeah, well, okay. So I have a history of coaching in gymnastics, as Kristin mentioned, but also I've become a Proctor Gallagher consultant, and I started doing that because I wanted to help my gymnasts thrive even more in life. And I saw myself as more than a gymnastics coach. I saw myself as someone who is helping people along in their life journey, really teaching them life goals and their life lessons along the way. And I crossed paths with Bob Proctor and became a personal development coach. And I was studying one day, and this was probably about 2 years ago now. And I was studying, and I saw this mastermind concept, and I go, I am not applying this the way I should be. What do I need to do? And after thinking on the question for a while, the idea of write a collaborative book, because I was approached by somebody else to be a co-author of a book, but this idea, the way that they had it lined up, it didn't really resonate with me. So I thought, why am I presented with this opportunity if it's not to take it, right? And so I thought, well, let's write our own, let's mastermind on a book. And so I thought of Kristin, and Kimberly came on board, and Casie's actually my cousin. We didn't grow up together, but she grew up across the country from me, but she's in health and wellness, and I thought, well, what a great idea. So to bring the four of us together to create this project that could never have happened if any of us were alone. And I think this mastermind concept proved itself. It proved itself to me. It was a wonderful collaboration, and I had so much fun writing about it. I write about self-image, and it is important to me because we get locked into specific thoughts about what we can achieve and who we can become. And if we can begin to see ourselves in a different light, we can become anything and anything we want. And so that is what I wanted to convey to the readers. And I think I think we had such a great time creating this book. We didn't even start writing it until like 3 months into the collaboration. It was pretty funny, but getting to know these ladies was fabulous because I didn't even know Kimberly before we started this, and so it was really fun.
Okay, Kimberly, you're up.
Yeah, well, just to thank you guys. That was a really good recap of how we all kind of came together to write this. And Mary, just to kind of tag team on what you just said with how we'd spent like 3 months together before we even started writing anything. And that to me was so important. I mean, during that time, we all were going through things professionally, personally. I certainly was. That was when I had my foot surgery, which is totally like I talked about it in the book, but I had no idea that was even going to make it into the book. And so it's that mastermind opportunity for us to really go deep together that you get to see in the book and you get to learn about in the book. And so one of the things when Kristin, you invited me on, I thought, yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to write a book, but I have no idea what I can contribute. I think that's something that we all kind of struggle with a little bit. And so pulling together Kristin's expertise on finding your vision and Mary's expertise on self-image, it really helped me in that mastermind environment to say, hold on, I've always been a writer. And like from when I was a child, I would write out handwrite because I'm a little bit older. And so I'd handwrite out a bunch of newsletters and deliver them to our neighbors just with what's going on in the neighborhood. Like I've always loved to write. And I'm like, gosh, like how do you not recognize that that's inside of you, lady? But we don't sometimes. And so going through the process as we were going through ourselves, we basically put together the outline of the book. You have to have that vision. You have to understand what is your purpose, what is your calling. Now, those are really big words, but the way that Kristin breaks it down is so easy to understand and easy to implement. And you suddenly just get these clear visuals of like, oh, that makes so much more sense. It's that clarity that you want, like the clouds part. And you're like, oh, I get it now. And then Mary gives you that self-image, all those different exercises around self-image. So you feel like, yeah, I am the person to do this. Yes, I can do this. And you start to really feel empowered to take that action. And then Casie, she's not able to be on this call, but she talks about wellness and the ability to go out and pursue something. A lot of times the wellness is what stops us because we're like, that's too many hours. I don't have time for that. And you don't want to burn yourself out. And you see so many other people burning themselves out. And Casie talks very openly about her experience getting burnt out and how she came out on top. So we can learn from each other. And then ultimately I come in and then I talk about how to use your voice so that you can go out and claim all those things that are bubbling up inside of you and say, and this is how I'm going to share it with the world and be confident in how I come forward and do that. And then we come together at the end and we talk about resilience because it can sound very easy to do a couple of exercises, find your vision, feel confident, have that balance, use your voice. But then ultimately, we all know things happen. Somebody will be a naysayer online because it happens, or something will kind of turn you just a little bit off course and suddenly you're going in the wrong direction. You're like, hold on, wait, how did I get here? I was meant to be over here. And so being able to have that resilience to recognize those moments, take them in, adapt, stay positive, and get yourself back on track. That's how we close out the book because that's really, and I feel like the fact that the four of us came together at the end to close it out with resilience is important because we've all been in those tough times. We've all experienced it. So it's not, we're not going to pretend that it's all rainbows and sunshine all the time, but we are going to tell you that you can get through the hard times and it's okay. It's all going to be okay. So that's how we closed everything out.
Yes, and as someone who was there, who read the book before anybody else, because I was on the launch of the book, and I was on the book club. You nailed it, because this is like my self-help book since I read it the first time. I
Yay.
get inspiration. No, I get, honestly, I get so much from this book, no matter what. And Casey's not here, but I did have the opportunity to tell her this on the book club. Balance, yeah, it's not my thing. I don't believe in it. I don't believe anybody can have any balance. But I did read that bit of the book with an open mind, and I resonate so much with what she wrote, and that is absolutely wonderful. I really, really, really loved everything everybody had to say. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And it's like the book that I'm always getting to, because when I'm stuck, I read, and it doesn't even need to be on the subject. It doesn't need to be, I don't need to read on the voice. I can just read on the balance bit and get what I need. So that is so important. Sometimes, and like you were saying, if you hadn't come together, it wouldn't be this book. So thank you for that. It really is a wonderful book, and I love it. Um,
I love how you guys all came together and just had, certain pieces. Did you kind of know what piece you would take when you got together during those 3 months? Or did, the mastermind, is that how you each found your strengths?
I think the mastermind brought those out. I mean, I think we had an inkling of a way, a direction that we would like to go, but once we kind of mapped out the format of the book, like we would each write a section. I think once we figured that out, then it was, after those 3 months, it was easier to go, oh, well, I want to write on this. Well, I want to write on this. Well, I think I should write on that. And I think those 3 months were really important, like Kimberly said, to see how we work together, because what really happened is we had an enjoyable conversation for an hour a week, and we got to know each other, and we spoke about what we wanted to share with the world. And as we started doing that, we found that we had so many intersections of what we wanted to say, but each of us had our own, our own take on essentially how to create and find our something greater. We had our own take on it, and that evolved, I think, through the mastermind. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but I think that that's kind of how it worked.
It was. And I want to say one thing that didn't make it into the book that we really talked about and we spent a lot of time on, and we ultimately took it out of the book, was this idea of coffee conversations. Because every single time we would meet, we'd talk maybe specifically about one part, or we'd go through, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm writing. And then someone would say, oh my gosh, I've got a story on that. We also were each other's editors. And so each time we'd go through and read each other's pieces, we'd say, this reminds me of this time when XYZ happened. And we thought about interjecting those little stories from the other co-authors in throughout the book, but then we ultimately thought it might be distracting. And so maybe that'll be coming soon, volume 2 or something.
Volume 2, exactly.
But it was just really fun to hear how it's very rare where you can be an author in this environment. But also, Mary had said I've seen collaborative books before where it's less collaborative, but each person just takes on a chapter or takes on a section, and then it's like each their own. They just smash them together with a binding, and then off it goes. But the way that we were able to come together and learn from each other and say, oh my goodness, Kristin, I never thought about thinking of it this way, or Mary, that was such a powerful exercise. I never really thought about it this way. We were able to grow from each other. And we were able to see that before we even sent it to print, of how our message was going to resonate. And so we would highlight in the Google Doc that we had going back and forth, say, this is awesome. This is what I would highlight if I were reading the book. And it just made it really fun to kind of pull out those nuggets from each other, because then not only were we able to put out something, which, Sarah, thank you for your kind words. Those are really nice of you. That's all very nice to hear. But not only were we able to put out something that ideally would and has inspired some people, which feels awkward to say actually, but we could also see what was going to be resonating, because you don't get to have those moments as an author. You don't get to sit next to someone when they're reading your book in bed and be like, oh, that's what you're highlighting. Thank you for sharing. Kindle well,
I mean,
sometimes.
you could, but that would be particularly awkward.
That would be a little strange. So this is kind of our way of like sitting next to each other and saying, oh my goodness, that was really good to hear that that's what stood out. And we all grew professionally on the other side of writing the book because of that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like this works well for a personal life as it does for your business life. I mean, I since I read this book, I always go on a Sunday walk with my husband, and we start talking about our vision and where we're going, and you have no idea how our lives have changed for the better. Just that weekly talk, we walk and we talk about our vision, and now he's the one bringing it up, because before I used to just talk about it and he'd think I was like crazy. But now he brings it up and he talks about our goals and what we want to do in the future. And that's amazing. I think that, so yeah, I'm not kidding when I say that this is really, this is a really, really interesting book. And I agree. We don't feel disconnected from one chapter to the next one. It's like there's a little string that goes, yes, a thread that goes from one to the other. So you just don't read a chapter on vision and then a chapter on self-image, and you feel like it has nothing to do one thing with the other. So I really like that.
Yeah, it seems like one builds upon the next.
Yeah, definitely does.
And that happened really naturally. We didn't force anything. It really came out of that mastermind concept. It took on a life of its own, really, and it just started writing itself. I don't know. It was pretty cool. I've, like Kristin, I've written children's books in the past. These ones were about gymnastics, but and you always hear writers saying, well, it kind of just wrote itself. Well, it actually did. It was kind of interesting the way it came out, and it wasn't hard to, I don't know, nothing of it was really forced. I think it just kind of matriculated in such a natural way, and we wanted to preserve each author's voice, but we also wanted to have those threads throughout, like you mentioned, Sarah, and we made sure that we talked about each other in the book, because it was important, because something resonated with Kristin that was in Kimberly's, and we weaved each other throughout, and we really wanted that to be a part of it.
And I think that's pretty important for the reader to see that there was that, just fluidity between the four of you and each other's lives, that you were writing, the chapters, that it wasn't just, Kimberly and Mary and Kristin, Casie, just writing your own sections, and it just shows that sort of cohesiveness. So one question that I have is, what was the intention when you all first got together? You had an intention of doing this. Is that the intention that you ended with? Just curious, like how things moved.
That's such a good question.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Kristin, I think you should answer this question.
I'm going to say Sarah's comment about our book met the exact intention we're hoping for. So we started writing a book about entrepreneurs, but Sarah's comment, and as we began writing it, we're like, wow, this isn't just for entrepreneurs. Like, this is for people. This is for, and we went through an audience exercise, which was really, like, it was really fun, but it was very, very powerful, because we had to literally envision the person we imagined our ultimate reader reading this book. And it ended up being a mom in a coffee shop, sitting by a window, hair just kind of like messy, with just like, I have an hour to myself, in their bag, and they just pull out our book, and it's like dog-eared with tags on it, and you're just reading and highlighting and just trying to get some inspiration to breathe, or I'm going to start something for myself. And there's a lot of businesses out there, and this is kind of where that tagged on too. There's a lot of businesses out there, or this concept, and Kimberly actually brought this point up about mom's trying to find himself. And the more I look into that, it's not just moms. As we grow, the young part of us, it's not that it's gone, but we evolve a lot, and we continue to look at ourselves mentally. You default to the person you remember from your past. We had a lot of coffee conversations about that as well. There was a lot of things we talked about that, but seeing yourself as who you are now, and getting to this point where it's all, and for me, it shifted in this concept of redefining success from that woman sitting there feeling like, okay, I'm a mom now. Who is this person as a mom, as a brand new mom? Who am I other than mom? Because before this, I was a woman, or I had a career, maybe a very successful career. Maybe I was an entrepreneur, or I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have something for myself. But as a young parent, you're giving all of yourself to your children. And then we started with this statement started ringing as redefining success. What is success for you? And so suddenly it kind of morphed, and yes, the focus is entrepreneurs, and these are like the intangible things that I feel we don't talk about enough in the entrepreneurial world, let alone just as humans. Like, if you have a purpose, it's not that things will be easy, it's that they're easier, and makes the easy things easier to do. And the things that don't match your vision, a lot easier to discard and push out of the way. No, that doesn't mean anything. That's not going to help me. That's not going to help me advance. Like, the things get clear, and there's the clarity, and Mary was using this concept, this term a lot, freedom. You're getting freedom from clarity, and you're freeing yourself from the chains of what you define success as in the past, or what you defined yourself as in the past. And so for me, when you're saying, what was your intention? It started as the book for entrepreneurs, getting out there, helping someone who wants to start a business, or who wants to redefine success for themselves, and find that freedom, and find their happiness, and just find some peace, like encouragement, knowing there's people I hope read this book into the future, and they read it and they feel like, this person understands. Thank you for not brushing the dirty secrets and the dirty sides of entrepreneurship under the rug and just saying everything's good. Like, we get enough of that on social media. Okay, the book is about being honest, but there is the other side, like Kimberly said. And so I think our intent, when Sarah said, oh, I get this book and I look at it, now we're talking about it. And I was just like, there's a couple of words I've been using in my work, and it's frame and fortify. Frame basic, and then fortify it with knowledge and concepts and practice. Frame it and fortify it. And I'm not saying frame the book, because that's not particularly helpful, right? The point is, you frame the concept in your mind. Now fortify, continue having the conversation. That's why I talk about a voice, is it goes beyond identify what your vision is, really understand what vision is intended to be, what yours is, and then fortify it by learning to communicate it in full on, just leaning into it in your life. It doesn't mean that nothing else matters. It means that it is so clear to you, this is where I'm going. You talk to the right people about it. You make sure it's part of your natural conversation, part of who you are, and you see it daily, right? And that just naturally transitions. So I think we 100% met the intent. You never know the people you're going to reach, the amount of people you're going to reach, and who the book is really going to impact. Because, like in our introduction, we say, you're going to get from this book what you want to get from it. And depending on how far you are, and that's everything, right? You go to school, if you take a class, you're going to get what you want from that class. Okay. Whether if you know all the concepts, you're going to dig into the concepts and do more research. You're going to get more out of it, whatever you want. It's up to you, though. And that's what I think is so unique about this book, aside from how we came together and how we threaded things, is that we give you enough where you can really blow, you can make this as big as you want to, or you can take as tiny steps as you need to start on the path. And there's no judgment either way. It's all about be who you are, 100% who you are, and it's okay where you are. If you're not ready yet, that's okay too. But it's the floor is yours whenever you're ready. You can take it on. So I think the intent met.
And can I just follow that up with, so when we were going through that exercise that Kristin just outlined, we were visualizing the person who's going to be sitting in the coffee shop, having it in her purse and pulling it out dog-eared and everything. The first time I went to an event after we had published the book, and I was they're signing the book, and I had a few copies, and um, a mom walked up. Her hair was a little bit disheveled in the most beautiful way, by the way. That is not a misstatement. She looked great. She had her daughter, and it was morning time. She had her coffee in her hand, and she grabbed her book. She bought it. She grabbed it. She put it in her purse, and she walked away. And I was like, that was the girl we visualized. Like, it was just so cool to see that entire, like, it came full circle, that progression. So being able to go through, and in Kristin's part, she leads you through this exercise that we also did together. But being able to go through and actually visualize what this is going to look like and have that visual, and then to see it play out in real life, there's something so magical about it. So yeah, I agree. We definitely did hit that intent.
Yeah.
And what I got from that too is, it started out as a book for entrepreneurs, but however, an entrepreneur is not necessarily someone that is just starting a business,
That's
right?
correct.
Or it could be it could be a new mom. A new mom is an entrepreneur, trying to navigate the life of being a mom, starting a new job, not your own business, but starting a new job, a new relationship, anything that's new that you're trying to navigate towards. I feel is an entrepreneur. You're starting something new. You need to learn how to navigate, through it. How did the workbook come in? How did you? I guess you started the book first, and then you developed the workbook. And how does the workbook work with the book? How would you advise our readers to use the workbook?
Oh, that's a good question. So when we decided that we were going to create this book club and just talk about our book, we thought that, well, let's frame this just a little bit. And so really the workbook has it's like a repository for the exercises that are actually within the book. So for instance, Kristin takes you on an exercise throughout Vision where she uses the words crash bang boom, and so she's really trying to draw your imagination and figure out what it is that you can really bring to your mind. And so the workbook actually helps you clarify your vision within it. So taking those exercises, and it's more of a concise version of it, but it helps you to just focus in on your vision. What is your vision? Make it clear, write it out, and try and picture it, right? So you have an image in your mind. And then the next ones, the the self-image one is also the same type of thing, not only the vision for your work and your life and everything that's going on, but also who are you? Who are you? And who is the person that has all this stuff? And so that is a lot of what I take the reader through in my section, is just clarifying, what do you want? Just bring it down to, do you want a pair of shoes or do you want a house on the hill? It doesn't matter. Write it all down, and bringing more and more clarity. And Casie's section is all about balance. And so those sections, in the workbook, she really focuses in on where you can find those places that you need to improve. Pardon?
Her pillars.
Yeah, the pillars. So, and what I love about, she's not here to explain her part that much, or at all. But so I want to just talk about the pillars really quickly. I think that they are, I think it's so great to have these pillars that you can focus in on and notice that I, I can kind of weight each pillar differently as to where I am in my life right now. And I think that that is really essential to understanding how she is presenting balance, because balance doesn't mean everything's equal. Balance means everything works together in a fluid way. And I think that that is a really powerful concept for the reader to grasp. And so that's in the workbook, that's what we talk about. And Kimberly, What did we end up putting in the workbook for voice? I'm trying to
We had
remember.
a lot. Yeah, really the biggest exercise I think that we put in there was about your adjectives and finding your adjectives. So when you can use your voice and you can put those descriptors to it, that's not how you find your voice. That's how you reconnect with it. That's what you want to be identified as. That's how you want people to feel when they're reading what you have to write and how they're interpreting your visions and how they're interpreting what you're putting out into the world.
Yeah. And yeah, I love all of that. And exactly in the balance bit, because Casey's not here. I love that the yoga can be stressful, because for 3 years I forced myself to go to yoga every week, and I was just, I would come out exhausted, mentally exhausted, because I had to-do list longer than I could I could ever get through. And I was there because it's supposed to relax you and to make you feel good, and I was just doing more hurt to myself than good, right? So and this book is a lot about permission. I think for me, that's um no matter where you are, no matter your endeavors, you have permission to be there, and you have permission to want more, and you have permission to go for it, but you also have permission just to be who you are. And I think that's very important, because all the books are books and social media, but a lot of books, I read a lot of books, entrepreneurial, whatever. And they're always telling you need to have a routine. You have to get up at 6, at 4, at 5. You have to do this, you have to do that. Well, guess what? No, I don't. I just have to create something that is going to work for me. And nobody is giving me that permission to do that. And it makes me feel bad that for 1 week I get up at 5, but then I can't do it anymore. And I feel like I failed. It's just not me, it's yeah. So again, that's what I get from this book, um which I think is a lot.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to reading it. And what I was going to say before, and I think it was based on something that Kristin, you said, it seems like it's also the type of book that each time you read it, you'll probably gain something more from it.
Yes.
You can go through it once and
Yes.
get whatever lesson you need at that time, read it again in 6 months, and it's going to be a completely different message.
Okay, so I was reading a part from the section I wrote, and it was like I was talking to myself, and I needed to hear just that thing at that time. I was like, man, this is a good book.
I'm really
So
good.
I wasn't like, it's not be like self-gratifying or praising or anything like that. No, honestly, it was, oh man, these are things we all forget. And I wrote it. Like, so yes, even I forget. Like, we all forget that it's not someone else's definition of success. It's not what someone else thinks you should be, or how you should be, or where you should be. And we're often the least kind to ourselves. The least
Very
kind.
true.
We are the worst to ourselves. We are our own worst bully. And we will look at someone and we'll say, man, why am I not there? I'm the worst mom. Oh man, I'm a terrible entrepreneur because I haven't done that yet. No, you are not. You are your own self, your own unique path. And we talk about that. Every single one of us talks about that throughout each chapter of this book. Each part of this book is, you are unique. Don't compare yourself to others. It's not helpful in any way. And if someone says yoga is the best thing you could do, every week you should be doing it. You say, well, that's just not for me. And so you actually said something earlier, and you said, balance is not my thing. I don't believe in it. Well, I think what Casie does beautifully is that she talks about balance is literally your thing. Yeah. Whatever it is for you. And if balance is not, it's balance, the definition someone else gave you, 100%, like you just said, not your thing. Weekly yoga, that for balance is not your thing. Like Mary's really good at meditating. I love getting out and I like walking. We all actually really enjoy walking. I like walking this neighborhood. I talk about living in Sonoyta, and I live up on a hill and I can see the rolling hills, and I like walking around and seeing the animals. I'm a city girl. I'm originally from LA. Los Angeles. I moved to Tucson. And so I've lived in the city, and I moved out here almost 3 years ago now, and completely changed my life. I'm just surrounded by nature constantly. So I've taken, like, walking for me is my form of meditation, feeling the breeze going through my hair and on my skin, the sun, sometimes very, very hot sun because it is Arizona, very hot, but balance for us is different. Our paths are all different, but like accepting where you are and giving your permission slip. That was one of Kimberly's world of permission slip. This is a permission slip. Is you have the freedom to dream big. You have the permission to dream big and want more. And if there's someone who's holding you back, we also talk about that. They're really not for you, right? If they're not with you and rooting for you, they're not for you. And you don't need them on your, doesn't mean if sometimes they're family, it doesn't mean you're like, out of my life, you're not able ever, but no, maybe you don't share that part of your life with them, right? The things you really want. It's okay to protect them. And Mary talks about it's okay to protect your dream, but make sure you're fortifying it with people who will protect it with you, right? So like,
Yeah. Go on.
I read my own section and I was like, oh, I needed to hear that right now.
Well,
so every time you read this book, you'll get something different out of it.
I think that's so true, Kristin. And then the other thing too, Norma, is that if we wrote this book this year instead of last year, it would be a different book.
Mm-hmm.
It would be it would be very similar probably, but there would be so many more dimensions to it because we've continued to grow and we've evolved and our awareness has shifted. And it's pretty amazing how this type of just this material that we're kind of diving into in this book is so conducive to growth, and so you can kind of see that change. Even when we were putting finishing touches on it, we were like, it's so hard not to add stuff because we wanted to add,
you got to save it for the sequel.
Yeah, I know. So it's really not only for the reader, but also as authors, it changed us too. And we're continuing to change. And so we are different people than we were when we actually wrote the book.
And I love how you guys have both said that, because this book is both evergreen and that you just continuously, like Sarah, you were saying, you have it on your nightstand or you have it on your desk and you just continuously can come back to it and get something different out of it. But that difference you can get each and every time you revisit it means that we're also constantly evolving. So it's this weird dynamic of both evergreen and evolutionary, where you can just continuously like grow from it, but you still have that same foundation. So the book is really meant to be that foundation, but you yourself continue to evolve.
Yeah. Well, that's the human element, right?
Yeah. If each of you can maybe give a teaser to your section or something that the message that you want the listener to receive. Do you know what I'm saying? Like something where it's going to be like, I already know for a fact that I'm taking the rest of today off and I'm going to pick up the book and start reading it. Because I'm like really, really like, I need this now. A highlight in each of your sections that's like maybe the message that you want the reader to receive.
Sure. Kristin, do you want to start?
Yeah, start with vision. So I really like the resilience part at the end where we talk about risk, but I'm going to talk about vision since that's like almost 50 pages of me talking about vision. One of the most important things I think we need to remember is that we have previous biases of what vision is. And vision has become a very, very kitschy term. Everyone talks about vision now, but there's a reason. It's because it is vital to growth. It is vital to direction. As simple as when you are going to the grocery store, immediately you know the grocery store you're going to, right? Because you have a grocery store, you picked a grocery store. You don't like, your mind knows the route. There's automatic. So Mary talks a lot about automatic processing, but there's automatic processing that goes into place of what's important. No, I'm not going to take that crazy route. That's going to take me 20 minutes longer to get there. I don't need anything in that direction. I'm going to go this way, right? But because this term is so big with this automatic processing, because this term is so big, if you haven't defined what your vision is, really defined it, and even if you think you've defined it, you might be falling short because you're not getting to the point where you can say it with such clarity yet, or you like there is no doubt in your mind that that's what you want when you say that that's where you're going. Again, personal or professionally, all of it, because we talk about in vision, and we specifically talk about you are stronger when you marry these parts of yourself. Instead of what the old belief was that, no, you keep your personal life and your professional life separate. And some people work really well like that. But the way that my background is in psychology, the way the human mind works is it's a human mind. It's not a professional mind and it's not personal mind. It is a human mind. We have emotions that are in one person. Marrying these parts of you to understand the success part is the best. So for a vision, one of the biggest hurdles we have to overcome is figuring out not just what our vision is, but what vision is intended to be. And we talk about vision as this Herculean task almost, as this giant, and it's scary because it's so big. That just seems unachievable. It's so big. It's big, but it can be gloriously big, not scary big. And if you change and reframe the mind of what vision is intended to be for you, strike out some of the negative things we tend to start saying to ourselves about vision, especially when we haven't achieved it that second you wanted to achieve it, because anything worth achieving does take time. Big goals take time. You recognize the small things and stuff, but reframing it to a vision is your guidepost. Vision is your sidekick. It's your partner. It's your partner in achieving this life that you want for yourself. It's not about, oh my God, I have to appease the vision. Okay. You're not feeding the monster. You're not sacrificing parts of yourself to the monster to stay alive in the fantasy, right? No, it's coming along with you. It's alongside you. It is your single most strongest asset in anything you want to achieve. Your single most strongest asset. And that's why we started there with this book. So redefining not just finding your vision, because obviously that's really important, but redefining what vision is, because so many times we define vision and we keep that vision so small because we're so afraid of it being big and failing. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff we talk about, and we talk about redefining failure. Get over failure. We talk about fear, moving beyond the fear, understanding what fear is and moving through that, because fear is real and you got to get to the other side. But for the teaser for you, Norma, you're saying, what's the teaser? The teaser start with understanding what vision truly is intended to be. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, it's a friend. It's my friend. It's not food, it's a friend. Like I don't know if you watch Shark Tale. Just watched it with my little ones the other day. So fish are food, not friends. Fish are friends, not food. Reverse that. Yeah. But I think that part's a super, super powerful part for anyone deciding if they want to read this book. Because even just hearing the word vision, understanding we talk about vision, if you're afraid to start reading this book because you're afraid of what vision is, that's one of the first things we trump is to get rid of that. Let's talk about it. Let's rephrase it. Is that a good teaser for you, Norma?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you. So I guess Mary's next with self-image.
So self-image is key to seeing your vision through, right? We have to create a self-image to match our vision. I start the chapter or my part out with, it's not who you are that holds you back, it's who you think you're not. And so many times we think, oh, that's not for me. That person can do it, but I can't do it. Oh, my vision is big. I don't know how I can even achieve that. And we come up with all these reasons why we can't. And my part on self-image is for you to understand that maybe the version of you right now can't achieve your vision because you don't see yourself as having your vision yet. And so I take you through exercises to help you hone in your self-image so you can really redefine who you are achieving your goal. You have to start showing up as that person. You have to start becoming that person in your mind before it can ever show up on the outside. The other thing is that you can never outperform your self-image. So even though, we talk a little bit about imposter syndrome in the book, and even though you're saying, okay, I'm acting like the person that I want to become, but this is so fake, you have to really learn how to make that change within yourself in order for you to start believing it. And belief is such a huge part of it. But at the very beginning, you have to first really define what it is that you want. And by achieving your vision, or seeing your vision, like Kristin takes us through, we can kind of open up our minds to go, okay, if my vision is this, what are the things that I want that match that? And so then you can start really opening your mind up. So I take you through a few exercises to help you figure out what it is that you want, right? Not just professionally, not just personally, in your relationships, in your health, in every aspect of your life, in your wealth. And when you can open your mind up to start thinking, okay, these things are available to me, I can start wanting. It's okay to want. You talked about permission slips before. It's okay to want. That's what growth is, right? If we didn't want things, we couldn't grow. So taking you through that and then figuring out who it is that achieves those things. And it's going to be different for everybody. And that is why we have to start thinking about it. We have to start figuring this out. Who am I now that I have everything that I want, right? And so it's kind of fun, in my opinion. Does anybody want to talk about Casie's part?
I think we kind of did already with the pillars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I can
Yeah.
talk about it as well.
Go for
Sure,
it.
yeah.
I just want to say, like, again, with balance, it was the only part in the book that I thought, yeah, I'm not gonna like that. Actually, I love that. I love how she talked about it and the pillars, and how, instantly I knew which areas of my life I needed to pay more attention to, and those that I was paying too much attention to, that I really shouldn't, because I mean, I was just driving myself crazy going there, and there was no need for it. It's just that it was expected and everybody told me it should be that way. Well, guess what? No, it doesn't. So yeah, the balance part, if anybody is on the fence, just that part is worth reading the book. And not only about Casie, but about all these ladies with very successful businesses and big lives going on, and giving themselves permission to do what they really want, no matter what was expected of them. Just that, it's like worth reading the book. So
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Um, so I kind of round things out with using your voice, and up until now, everything has been really internal. Using your voice is more external. So that's when, okay, you've done the work, you've found where you want to lean in, you know yourself, you know your vision, you have your sidekick next to you, and you're ready to bring it out into the world. That's where so many people stop. And that's when we need to keep going, because if you don't let all this that's bubbling up inside you out, you're never going to be able to grow and influence and inspire people. And so my section's all about how to use your voice, how to find your voice. And I put that in air quotes because we don't need to find it. We need to just reconnect with it again, because it's already inside of you. So it's bringing that out in a way that you feel really confident and really excited about sharing. When you want to go and hit post, when you want to hit publish, when you want to send that newsletter or record yourself on a podcast or a video, this is all about using your voice to share that clearly defined vision and self-image of yourself, and being able to express that with confidence and with clarity and conviction. And so I think the biggest takeaway to your point, Norma, was really being able to do that without the perfectionism. Perfectionism is what really, really stops a lot of people. They think they can't have typos in their text. They think they have to say the right thing. And what happens if they don't say the right thing? It's a lot of people. You're not alone in that. And so being able to just have, like we talked about, the permission slips to go and make a typo. I reference in the book one time when I got an email from an author who, that's her whole living is to write books. And she had typos in her newsletter. She had 3 typos in her newsletter. And I thought, I love this, because now I feel like she's actually talking to me. She's not putting up some facade. She was not afraid to hit send. this is her talking to me, and I feel more connected with that voice. I also feel like I can let my hair down. I can be myself around someone like that. When I go into a coffee shop, I want someone to talk to me and bumble over their words a little bit. I don't care as long as you're showing up as you and you're giving me what's inside of you wanting to come out and not what you think you should be saying and falling into that should trap. So that's really where we, when I talk about using your voice, reconnecting with your voice. Yes, there's exercises in this section about, like I said, finding your adjectives, going through a lot of empathy mapping with yourself. What is it that I really want? How do I feel about this? What am I thinking to myself? And then what am I saying externally? And where's there a disconnect here? And same with my beliefs and my feelings and what I'm doing, my actions. And so it's this constant internal and external balance and rhythm that we're working on finding. And that's really your voice. It's not just the words, it's also how you're showing up in the world and how you're presenting yourself to the world. And so if you can drop the perfectionism and just let that beautiful self of yours shine, really cool things happen. And suddenly you realize all these worries that you had between your ears, that was that soundtrack you played yourself over and over again, that they can go on mute. And now you've got something else that you're feeling validated, you're feeling seen, you're feeling appreciated and inspiring, and you can go to sleep at night feeling really good about that, even if there's a typo.
Yeah.
I
And
invite you to look for the typos in the book because there are
Oh,
some.
they're there. I mean, even in that section, there's a typo, unintentionally or maybe intentionally. Who knows?
Yes. Well, and guess what? If people are offended by that, they're not your people. Let's just
Correct.
go with that.
Right.
Mira, I love you.
Where can people find you? Facebook, or, if people want more besides the book and the workbook? I don't know. What else? What else is there for you?
Well, collaboratively, we haven't talked about anything, but we do provide our QR codes within each of our sections, so the readers can connect to us on and our personal platforms, so we can connect and you can talk to us. You can find me on Facebook every day. I'm always there. So, but we have that connection for each of the authors within the book. So, readers, if they find that they connect with a particular author more so than others, then it's up to the reader. And we love that we did it that way because it's, well, it's up to the reader. We're all individuals. We never know who we're going to inspire. And I think you can reach out to us that way.
We came together and we created something beautiful. It doesn't mean something more won't come from it. We intentionally led a book club from this on purpose to try to help people. We have that companion guide that goes with it. So when others, they have more to follow along with the book, like read these questions and really helps you just dive a little deeper, make it a little bit more personal. And I love this book because you get so much good content, and that's tangible exercises, not just let me read, right? No, it's take a beat, digest this. We really recommend that you do this exercise. And our introduction even says, grab pen and some paper. You're going to want to take some notes, because it's all about where are you. This is the words that we're saying aren't about us saying us. It's about saying this is what we learned. We hope you can reflect and learn something from us. But we all came together because we had our businesses. And we grew from them. So we are feeding into our own our businesses, but the QR codes you can find it. I mean, Mary's got her personal professional development business. I've got my consulting business where I try to work with organizations along with our children's books, and Kimberly's got her businesses as well, Cruising and Campfires and Roadpreneur, and Casie's got her wellness coaching business that she has. So we've all kind of taken what we came together from our individual businesses, grew together, and then we're feeding into our businesses from what we learned.
And I think that's one of the things that turns this book so great. It's because they are actually individuals. There was nothing, of course they wanted, I suppose, that this would become a bestseller and that it would help a lot of people, but there was no thought behind it. Like, they weren't trying to get anything more than that.
It was never intended to be a franchise. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
never intended to be a
exactly.
franchise. You're the franchise, right, Sarah? You're the reader. You are the franchise. Like it's all invested in you. You invest in yourself. And we were never did this intending for this to become a large franchise
Exactly.
option or a huge
Yeah.
imprint of something. This is us putting a piece of ourselves into something that hopefully feeds others.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here and
thank you.
talking about this book. It was amazing as always.
Wonderful.
It
Appreciate
was.
getting to know each and every one of you. And if you're listening to this, go out and get the book because I know that I'm going to start reading it.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.